Hey, everybody. So, my guest today is David, and he's the founder of Hotglue. And today, he'll be sharing the story of how he and his co founder, as two college sophomores, dropped out of school to work full time on their product. So, David, are you ready to take us to the top?
Absolutely.
All right. So, first off, can you tell us a bit more about Hotglue? How would you describe it?
Yeah, I think, we're making it easy for developers to kind of put native integrations into their product that are customer facing. So if you were building an accounting software and you wanted to be able to connect to your customers' QuickBooks accounts, Hotglue would be the one handling the authorization, the actual extraction of the data, transformation, making the data look good, and then loading it into wherever your product needs it to be.
Sounds good. So, what's the business model of Hotglue? How are you making money?
Yeah, we actually just changed our business model. So we used to be a credit based model, um, and we thought that that would be really attractive to some developers because it's kind of the data you push through Hotglue is what you pay for. What we soon came to realize is that people get scared of a volume based model when it comes to pricing because they're like, okay, there's no end to how much these guys are going to charge me. So we switched recently to having a freemium model. So we have a free tier where you can really just see the power of Hotglue, but only connect a few data sources. And then we have a couple paid plans that are like $200 a month and $500 a month that differentiate based on the amount of users that you have connected to your system through the integration that we provide. So if you have 100 people using, the integration that you input using Hotglue, that'll be different than someone who has 5,000 people using the integration input through Hotglue.
Yeah, pricing is always something you have to test out from time to time. Sounds familiar.
Yeah.
So, we're always curious about the founding story. How did you and your co founder start a business? Take us back from basically the idea to launch.
Yeah. So I'm very lucky. My co founder, his name is Hassan. And we met in college, actually. And he initially was working at an accounting startup the year before undergrad. So when he was 18, he was working at a startup called Revlock, and they're an accounting software company. Um, and basically, they had an issue where they were having trouble connecting their customers' QuickBooks accounts or pulling in data from Salesforce and kind of matching up data. So he was like, okay, maybe I can go and build something because they couldn't find a tool. They were like, okay, maybe I'll go build something that can fix this. And so he went and tried to start to build it, and he showed it to the CTO, and the CTO was like, oh, this is kind of interesting, but it needs X, Y, and Z features for us to be even close to using it. So he then went and built X, Y, and Z feature, and then showed it to the CTO again. He goes, okay, maybe we can start testing this out, see if it can actually be beneficial to us. And at this point is when he brought me on, and this is March 2020, when he kind of reached out to me, and I was actually his best friend's roommate, which is how we met. It's a very, very typical college story. Um, and he was like, hey, I know you have some experience in kind of marketing. My background is in digital marketing. I co-ran an Instagram account with a friend of mine, or really he was the mastermind behind it, and I was helping him. Um, but yeah, so he said, hey, I need some help with emails. I can't pay you or anything. I just need some help. And I was like, you're my roommate's best friend. Of course, I'll help you out. So I started writing some emails. Had no clue what the heck I was writing about because I was a non-technical person at the time. Still pretty much non-technical, but learned a lot of things so far. Um, and eventually we got to the point where we were working together every day. We weren't only discussing marketing and sales; we were discussing product vision and kind of what the future looks like for Hotglue. And he eventually asked me, do you want to co-found this with me? I really think we make a great team. And can really push ahead. And that was in about May of 2020. And then we actually both had internships during the summer. So he was working at PlayStation, and I had a digital marketing internship in the Washington D.C. area, and we were both working on it full time, and also doing our internships. And then fall 2020, all this during the pandemic, obviously, um, we were both in school full time at the University of Maryland. Um, and doing this full time, and we often would miss classes to be on calls with potential customers or things like that. And then right after that semester ended, we both kind of looked at each other and said, hey, you know what, this is going really, really well. We're getting really good interest. We have VCs trying to come and talk to us and stuff. Let's dive in and go all the way. So we actually took a gap semester this current semester of spring 2021, and we're working full time. And it looks like we're not coming back anytime soon to school based on how things are going.
Wow, that's awesome. So being a US-based company makes this question extra interesting, I guess. Are you guys bootstrapped, or have you taken any VC or funding?
Yeah, so we were bootstrapped up until the beginning of April, and we haven't announced who has done our seed round yet. We plan on doing that a little while in the future, but I mean, we have raised a little bit of seed funding um, to help us just kind of continue our vision and work on security, compliance, and eventually some hires so that we can kind of expand our team.
That's great. So back to the product. What is your most important acquisition channel to get new customers on board right now?
I would say for us, it's a lot of like inbound marketing. So we publish a lot of content on like Medium, and there's a publication called D Zone, which is for developers, and our product is built for developers. So a lot of the interest has been driven that way, and where we're not necessarily, I mean, I'll go and email people and do some cold emails, but cold emails, as many people probably know, are not extremely effective. Though they can, they can bring you a few users if you cast a wide net. But writing these articles and really focusing on the value prop of what Hotglue provides is kind of been the most successful acquisition channel. And I think that's like us writing about how a product manager can easily add 150 integrations minus the dev work without straining the team and never having to worry about maintaining integrations ever again. And someone goes like, oh my God, I can fulfill my Q3 quotas, saying, oh, we wanted to add 10 integrations this quarter. Well, we added 150, and so writing those articles has probably been the most successful channel for us.
Great. And at what stage is Hotglue right now in terms of revenue?
Yeah, so we're around 1,000 MRR, kind of peaking above that. We have a few engineering teams who are using us in production. And it's really exciting for us because we're really starting to see the value that it provides for people. And since we are pretty early, we're just about a year old and really working full time on it for about a few months now. The pricing model will change, most likely. We changed it recently. We're going to change it again, probably. Pricing goes up, pricing goes down based on the value we provide. But yeah, right now we're around 1,000 MRR. And I'm trying to, maybe I misspoke also when we raised. It's a seed. We raised a seed round. I apologize, not a pre-seed round.
Love it. $1,000 MRR is really the first milestone where you pass the real validation of your product. So great job, David. Well, thanks for sharing the story of Hotglue. Let's wrap it up with a lightning round of 6 questions to inspire others. Before we dive into today's lightning round, let's hear a quick word from our sponsor. Do you want to build your product the best way possible? Then you probably know that listening to your user feedback is crucial in building new features that will help them solve their problems more easily and thus making your product more valuable. Upvote provides you with feedback boards, a product roadmap, and a changelog to make the process of gathering and managing feedback a lot more efficient. You are getting a 10% discount on all of their plans with the code PIRATES. So go to upvote.com and start your 14-day free trial today. Now, let's go back to the interview. If you would start a SaaS today, what would be the first action to take?
Probably a lot of like educational reading is what did it for me. As someone from a non-technical side, and I think like that's an interesting perspective for anyone who is non-technical that's listening. Building that conceptual knowledge is so much more important than actually learning how to code. And like, don't get me wrong, I'm trying on the side to pick up Python and pick up Java and all that kind of stuff, but I have a lot of other things to do. But really diving into the conceptual aspects and being able to have those really intelligent conversations with people that allows you to learn the problems better, I think is really important, because when you build a product, you don't want to build something people don't want, because who cares then, right? So I think it's all about being able to have conversations, and to be able to have conversations, you need to be knowledgeable on the topic, and the adjacent topics, and the topics that aren't necessarily exactly what you're trying to tackle. But if you find a problem in another sector, go ahead and tackle that. Don't worry about something that you fell in love with, but rather something other people are going to fall in love with.
Good one. What are some of your favorite software that you can't live without in running daily operations of Hotglue?
I was actually just talking about this with my co-founder. There's an email client called Spark, especially on MacBooks, and this thing is a lifesaver for us. It lets you write. You can like share drafts of emails and both edit it at the same time in a very similar way to like Google Docs. Um, and it's just been super helpful for us. And you can like delegate emails to certain people even if they're not on the email chain. Super helpful for us, I would say. um and then like probably Google Calendar. I mean, we are obsessed with our Google Calendar. Everything is pretty much on a written out on our Google Calendar. It's been super helpful for us. But yeah, I would say Spark, that email client, we're not sponsored or anything, but I would love if they would, because we love them.
And what about your phone? Besides Spark, I guess, what's your favorite app on your phone?
um on my phone, I would say, unfortunately, it's Twitter. um I use Twitter a lot now, not necessarily like startup Twitter, because I know there's a lot of stigma around that. um but uh but yeah, I think Twitter's been really helpful for me in the sense that like I connect with other founders on Twitter, and DM back and forth and really like learn from other people on Twitter. So it's been really helpful for me, I would say, in that way. I don't really like social media in general typically. I try to keep myself off of it, other than the social media we have for our business, obviously. um but yeah, Twitter has been super great for me.
And what is your favorite book that you would recommend to people that are starting in SaaS?
Oof. It really depends on your SaaS company, if it's a consumer product or a non-consumer product. I'm pretty sure um, there's like there's the very famous like the lean startup, um, but there's a really good one that's specifically focused on B2B. And I'm trying to remember the name of it, and it might just be like the lean B2B startup or something like that. But it's a really good book, just to kind of give you actionable items that you can really get into. Um, Versus like I feel like a lot of the books I do read that come in that kind of entrepreneurial space are pretty similar and give you this vague, like, make sure you build what your users love kind of stuff. Um, but this book gave me actionable insights, and I'm struggling so hard to remember the name now, which makes me so sad.
You know what? We'll link to it in the show notes. That's no problem. What SaaS brand do you admire the most?
Oh, this is a good one. I think we really look up to Zapier, I'm not even sure if that's the correct way to pronounce it, in all honesty. But it's Zapier, because I remember the Zapier founder says, you should remember, as Zapier makes you happier.
Oh, good one. Zapier makes you happier.
Yeah, we really look up to Zapier because of the way they bootstrapped. So, they did Y Combinator, which is pretty cool, and they raised 1.5 million on demo day. And if people don't know, Y Combinator is this accelerator program that gives you a little bit of seed funding, and then at the end of it, they have like an invite only for investors event that really allows these high growth startups to raise some money. But Zapier went ahead and raised 1.5 million on demo day and never raised again. And they're now a humongous company. And I really look up to the way they bootstrapped everything, and how their founder really valued building their company in a kind of foolproof way, and not allowing money to kind of get in the way and create problems and spend on unnecessary things. He was very creative and very frugal with how they built everything out, and it's led to their company being so much better.
And what is your favorite SaaS person to follow or read?
It's a pretty mainstream one, but Justin Kahn I'm a big fan of. He's the founder of Twitch, and he actually has a very good podcast as well, that he just started, called Only Friends. And he tends to have on a couple really smart people every time. And I really appreciate hearing his thoughts, because he's someone who I kind of looked up to, in the sense that he's typically very zen, and he's like, make sure you enjoy the wins, enjoy the good stuff, but also, be strong, and realize that this is not the easiest thing. And that's not why everyone doesn't necessarily start a company.
Yeah, and he recently started a YouTube channel. Have you seen it?
Yeah. He actually publishes like video versions of his podcast on his YouTube channel. It's really good.
Yeah, I like it as well. Well, great, David. Thanks for your time today and sharing your story with us. To conclude this interview, where can we learn more about you and Hotglue?
Yeah. So to visit Hotglue, it's spelled exactly as it sounds, HOTGLUE .xyz is the website. And you can see us there. And then on Twitter, we're also Hotglue.xyz. And yeah, and I don't care about my personal socials, so you don't have to worry about those. But yeah, check out Hotglue if you're a developer who's in that data engineering space, or some sort of kind of ETL structure, or you need to import customer data. Hotglue can maybe help you out. So we have a free plan. You can try it for free, build a whole data pipeline without having to worry about putting any credit cards in or anything.
So after this video, David reached out to me with 2 corrections I have to address here. So the first one is Hotglue raised a pre-seed round, not a seed round. And the second one is the book he wanted to mention, which is called Lean B2B. Now, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you do, please share it with all of your friends. And I actually have some personal news as well, because besides the SaaS Pirates podcast, I recently started a new podcast as well called Founder Mornings, which is basically going to be my personal audio diary, in which I'll be sharing all of my lessons learned and other great findings and resources I just want to share with you as an aspiring startup founder. So if you're interested, look up Founder Mornings in your podcast app or head over to foundermornings.com.